This is Between the Lines on ESPN Ithaca and the ESPN Ithaca app. One school that was having just such great individual and team performances all year long, all school year long, was Ithaca College athletics. And obviously, the spring sports season cut short, the winter sports season abruptly ending because of coronavirus. And obviously, these are some trying times and difficult times for just about everybody. But hopefully, we can find a little bit of positivity with Susan Bassett, the athletic director of Ithaca College, to chat a little bit about some of those successes that we did see this year. And she joins us now here on the ESPN Ithaca phone lines. First and foremost, Susan, how are you and any of your loved ones doing right now?
Hello, Nick. Thank you so much. I appreciate that. All doing fine. I'm
good.
Working remotely, and everyone is safe and doing well.
Good to hear. Good to hear. Well, let's go back a couple of weeks ago, because I do want to know when it felt like for you that there would be a possible cancellation of the rest of the spring sports season and some of the winter championships as well. When did it feel like it was going to be a real possibility for you?
So it really did not feel like they were going to cancel, the NCAA would cancel the winter sport championships, because during that week that we were departing for wrestling in Iowa and track and field in North Carolina, the NCAA communication on Monday was they had a medical panel and felt that it was safe to proceed. We left campus, that was our spring break, so we left campus on Tuesday and Wednesday of that week. I was part of some internal meetings talking about really the following week. So we were already at the championships and expecting to compete. I had traveled to North Carolina to be with our track and field teams, arrived on Thursday, got in at about 3 o'clock, settled in the hotel. The teams had already been in the facility training and preparing for Friday's opening competition. And at 4 o'clock on Thursday, the 12th of March, we got the phone call that the NCAA had canceled the championships. So honestly, we fully expected to be competing on Friday the 13th and Saturday the 14th for both wrestling and track and field. And then the following week, our divers were traveling to North Carolina also for their NCAA championship. So literally, I never thought that those championships would not be completed.
Obviously, the track and field team was expected to really contend, the women's team especially, for a national championship. Being down there with them and the other athletes, what was that like when the news was broken to them? Hey, everything's being snatched away from you, and who delivered that news? Is that something that they found out on their own? Is that something that you delivered, Coach Potter delivered?
No, it was so unfortunately happened multiple ways and through social media. There were Coach Potter was having a team meeting, and as you know, we had 10 athletes on the women's team who had qualified, and I was planning to join them for dinner. They were informed officially by Coach Potter. I happened to have run off site from the hotel to pick up a few things, and I got the phone call from my associate, Arian Roberts, who was back on campus, saying that the championships had been canceled. So also that weekend, I just want to make sure I mention that our gymnasts were headed to their regional championship. It's not an NCAA sport, but equivalent. Their regional championships in Springfield, and we're all set to go as well. So it was I pulled back into the parking lot of the hotel, and literally there were track and field athletes, hundreds from all over the country in this hotel parking lot crying. And it obviously the news was devastating, and to arrive at the site and to be in the facility and on the verge of competing and then having that championship canceled while we were already there was just absolutely devastating. And my words to the team and to the coaches when I arrived and joined them was just how proud I was of them, and that, how much they had achieved already this season, and that they couldn't have represented Ithaca any better. Really still gets me. So, it was really an effort to support and console. And obviously, we know some things are bigger than sport, and certainly this epidemic, this worldwide crisis, health crisis is monumental, bigger than anything we've ever seen. And so we understand that, and we understand that sport is not the primary focus of what we do as college students, but anyone in a performance world, so whether it's our theater arts students or our music students or our student athletes and our many, many students who are in the Park School and doing production, all of that in-person performance opportunity to be taken away is just devastating because of the process of working towards a goal of peak performance in whatever you're doing is really takes a lot of time and effort. And I can tell you that Coach Potter and her team and Coach Nichols and his team and all of our teams really start the journey of a championship development back in August. And it's a step-by-step process. And I am very confident that for us in what was a very successful fall and winter season up to that point, that we were poised to really have some incredible breakthrough performances, and for wrestling and women's track and field in particular to contend for national championships. And it's so hard to get there. I just have so much appreciation for their work, their commitment to each other, and what they achieved to get to that point.
You mentioned the seasons, and I would like to reflect a little bit on the school year because there are so many wonderful things that IC was able to accomplish and Bomber programs were able to accomplish, whether it was Cortica and MetLife and coming away with a victory, the national championships, like we saw with Parley Hannon coming out of nowhere and winning the cross-country title. You had new faces leading different programs. You obviously had different individuals and teams making postseason pushes during the winter. What was your fondest memory from the year? And I'm probably putting you on the spot to try and single out one, but is there something that will forever be etched in your mind?
Well, I certainly think that all that you just mentioned, it's hard not to think of Cortica as a defining moment of the year just because of what it meant for Ithaca College as a college. We play football games week in and week out with a few hundred people in the stands or a few thousand. And lots of times we toil in relative obscurity. But for our college, for Ithaca College, for our alums, our current students, all of our friends and family, to have been part of such a monumental visibility and engagement opportunity really is the singly defining moment of the year, I would have to say. And that, again, transcends sport. That wasn't just about us going to play a football game. That was about the largest gathering of Ithaca College alumni ever, the ways that our students from the Park School and our music school could perform and participate. So that is the largest and certainly something that I'll always look back on proudly and fondly, because we in intercollegiate athletics delivered that opportunity to the college. So it's very special. But I have to say, watching Parley get better and better every week, and I shared some thoughts recently about her. I would have to say, without a doubt, one of the all-time elite bomber athletes ever, any sport. And what she was achieving, what she has achieved, and she was about to achieve is just incredible. So every time I got a chance to watch her run, and I was able to go to our Liberty League championships and, of course, our home Bomber Invitational, but she's just a spectacular athlete and a real joy to watch. And then, you know, from a process standpoint, and I'm a former swimming coach, so I'm a very process-oriented person. I have to say that watching the spring sport coaches, as you mentioned, David Valicente, new at the helm of baseball, Hannah Quintano, new at the helm of our softball program, watching the men's and women's lacrosse teams, softball, baseball, all get ready for their spring season, our golf team. I find as much joy in the day-to-day work of our students and their coaches and the things that people don't see that as anything that you would read about or see in our results.
Yeah, Susan Bassett, athletic director at Ithaca College, joining us here on BTL. You know, Division III was one of, you know, well, and it wasn't one of, it was probably the earliest to basically say, hey, we want to give our athletes a fair opportunity to compete. And it was back on the 13th, they released a statement saying that they will grant an additional season or semester of eligibility for student athletes participating in spring sports. It feels like that happened, I don't know, 2 months ago based on how everything has been going. But what kind of impact, I know it's maybe still too early on to figure that out, but what kind of impact will that make on the college?
So first and foremost, I really do appreciate that, though that eligibility was restored for those students in spring sports. That is tremendous. I am really focused on the academic development and achievement of our students. So honestly, unless they have a really meaningful academic reason to come back, I hope that people just move on with their lives and do what they had planned to do. If they come back for the additional eligibility, it has to be within the framework of academic eligibility as well. And so Arian Roberts, who is our associate director for NCAA compliance, is looking at that on a case-by-case basis. But we're not advocating or encouraging students to come back just to play their sport if they have a reason to be here. So, for example, we have many students in our physical therapy program who are on campus with us for 6 years. So those are viable. If there's a student who has another area to pursue academically and wants to pursue a second major, and their family is supportive of that, that's great. But certainly we're not suggesting that anyone come back just to play their final season. And I do want to say something about seniors versus juniors, because a lot of people are saying, oh, it's terrible for the seniors to have lost this opportunity. And I couldn't agree more. My heart goes out to the seniors who are losing, their last 7 weeks of being on campus with their lifelong friends and having a normal commencement and a senior week and all of those wonderful celebrations. But for any athlete to achieve a national qualifying standard, or for a team to achieve a national qualifying standard, it takes a lot to get there. And there's no guarantee that once you qualify as a sophomore, you're going to go back as a junior. There's no guarantees. So I feel sorry for everybody who achieved that and had that opportunity taken away. Certainly with the spring sport athletes, they didn't even get to realize the potential of all the work they had done. I think our winter sport athletes know that they were poised to do something very special. We're all feeling a sense of loss about that and helping our students work through that. And it's a tough lesson to learn and a hard thing to go through, to have an opportunity like this taken away. But that's unfortunately the circumstances that we're confronted with. And our goal, our ambition, our focus is always to make everything as positive and constructive and as much of a learning experience as it can possibly be. And that's what we are, first and foremost, educators.
Totally get it. Susan, as always, really appreciate the time. Thank you so much for being so open with us about everything and reflecting on what's been a roller coaster couple of weeks for everybody. And I really do appreciate it. Be safe, be well, and thanks so much for a couple of minutes, okay?
You're welcome. Thank you.